Hi all, and welcome to another battle report. This is a big one, 11,500 points. So it's starting my Bretonnian, 5,750 points, allied with my dwarf buddy with the same amount of points. We are facing off a demon list of 4,000 points, a empire list of 3,500 points, a Arcan Goblin plus Chaos Dwarf list of 4,000 points. So yeah, start with some basic rules. Me and my dwarf buddy deploy first, and we get the first turn since we have so much units. And I have the Enchantress, so that's no problem really for us. So as you can see, to the left, 3 Peg Knights with a Musician. Behind them I have 6 Knights. Realm, 5 fast cap, then a unit of errant knights with my level 2 of beast in it, nothing comes into play. Then I have a unit of questing knights with banner of eternal flame, a unit of errant knights with the enchantress herself in, a trebuchet hiding behind that hill. Also hiding behind the hill is the lord with the heroic blow always strikes first build. Then I have another errant lance. Then I have a unit of 5 fast cap, a Grail Knight lance with a character wall and the level 4 Lord of Heaven Crown of Command build in it. Then I have a unit of Realm Knights, 3 more Peg Knights, a Peg Paladin and 2 more Krebs. We continue with the dwarf list, and this is the problem. We deploy on different flanks, so sometimes it's hard to follow what's happened on this flank for me personally. But he basically have a cannon, a organ gun, a unit of Longbeard. Behind the Longbeard you have a gyrocopter. In the Longbeard you probably have a Fane and a runesmith. You have another organ gun, some iron breakers, probably with some character in it. 1 more cannon and a unit of great weapon warriors. Finally, on the flank you can see you have 1 more cannon, a unit of 20 iron drakes. Behind them you have a bomber, then a unit of slayer behind them. Then also shown in this picture next to the slayers is some rangers that will show up next to his cannon in this previous picture, and some miner which I don't think will show up at all during the whole game. A big unit of warriors with some character in it, a gyrocopter behind it, a grudge thrower, a unit of hammers with the runesmith in it, and my final unit of peg knights. Well, for the forces of destruction, to the right of this picture we have a beast of Nurgle. The Empire play have 2 cannons on that hill, 2 units of 10 handgunners, some flamer hiding behind that rock, and another beast, Great Unclean One, a Hellbuster, and behind Great Unclean One a engineer is hiding. Then you have a unit of Bloodletters with a herald in it, and just almost outside of this picture is a also awesome converted soul grinders. Well, in the forest there you have a skull cannon, and behind that soul grinder you have a empire cannon, and then you have 10 units of pink horrors, a bloodthirster, unit of night goblin with 3 fanatics in it, a beast of Nurgle hiding behind that stone, and a unit of bloodletters with a herald in, I think. And then you see in the forest here a unit of orc boys big guns with a level 4 Lord of Big Wa in it. And the Empire play have a big unit of greatsword with like 3 warrior priests, a BSB, a captain, and a level 4 Lord beast in it, a cannon on that hill, and another unit of 10 handgunners. Well, on this flank, I think this is the heaviest of their flanks points wise. You have 10 Savage Orc War Boys. Behind them is a unit of 10 knights with a he has some Grandmaster with Rune Fang, I think, and a Warrior Priest. 2 units of 8 knights with great weapon, a Spear Shaka, and some train from Chaos Dwarf. I don't know what the name of that thing is, but it's something that's fighting combat. A big unit of Black Orcs, Magma Cannon, a Rock Lobber, a big unit of Chaos Dwarf Warrior, a Rock Lobber, a Orc Warlord on a, what's the Orc Dragon's name? Wyvern. Then you have some Hell Shrieker, Death Shrieker behind that hill, Chaos Dwarf War Machine, 2 Savage Orc Board Boys, and a unit of Chaos Dwarf Warriors with a Demon Smith in it, I think they are called. Well, they didn't have any Vanguard at all. They have 2 units of Corndog ambushing, but nothing more. And I Vanguard forward my Peasant Cav and my Peg Knights. This is my Vanguard in the middle, and to the left of this picture his unit of 20 Rangers is standing. And well, this is my final Pegasus unit vanguarding up. So for our movement, Green Knights didn't show up. My first Peg Knights fly over his line and are prepared to charge his cannons. This is a picture of my Fast Cav moving forward and taking out his Fanatics. Then my Peg Knights fly over there and are prepared to charge his mortar, and my Paladin Peg is moving up carefully. On the other flank, my final Peg Knights flies up and gets prepared to charge down his Death Shrieker. But as you can see, the dwarf line is standing pretty much still and waiting for them to come to us, and I do the same with my Brett line to keep a compact line that will not break in any point and stop them from getting to our backfield basically. And Bretonnia doesn't take demon in close in combat, no way. So I'm just gonna stay out of combat as long as possibly I can. Hopefully use my trap to kill his big things. In our medic phase, not much worth happening. We got off a comet with a miscast, blowing up 3 Grey Knights on his cannon on the hill, as you can see, and Wind Blast from the Enchantress special ability and pushes his Great Unclean One back a couple of inches. But that's it for our magic turn. 2 Trebs hits his Bloodthirster. One he passes his Sword Shave, the other one takes 3 wounds off of him. Well, the dwarf player did a much better job than me in shooting phase. Even though his organ gun explode, he takes 6 wounds out of that train. He killed his magma cannon and he killed some great swords. So over to the forces of destruction. Well, for the Force of Destruction's first turn, to their left flank they just basically pushes up a bit, nothing more really happens. This is a picture in the middle where they also basically pushes up a bit, maybe a little bit too carefully. I think his Bloodletters failed a charge because they were frenzied and have to charge and failed a long charge. But yeah, maybe be a little bit too careful with his demon army, because even on the charge a Bretlands cannot really take a demon unit in combat. On this flank maybe they were a little bit too reckless. These Savage Orc Boar Boys really didn't have much of a choice but going up there, but the Empire Knights move up pretty close to the dwarf great weapon warriors. I don't know, I think it was kind of a risky move. They said their plan was that to charge the dwarf with the knights and the black orc next turn after they kill them, but even though this is a risky move, as you can see, he's Chaos Dwarf up in the corner, turn around and pew pew at my Peg Knight and will do a wound to them, and that's their movement. Very blurry picture, but it's just showing in the magic phase. They got off a foot on this Longbeard unit, killing 9 of them, and then he rolls a 3. Magic is basically ineffective for both sides because they have 3 scrolls and we have 5 scrolls on our side, so we pretty much shut down magic for each other during the whole game. For the miscast they roll a 8, and I think the Empire level 4, some warrior priest, the orc shaman suffers a wound, but the rest of them pass. Then in the shooting phase they didn't really do much. They killed some dwarves here and there, they killed some knights here and there. One of their cannon explodes from a misfire, and the handgun unit panics and are just a couple of millimeters away from the board's edge. Well, even though this picture is blurry, it's just showing my Peg Knight charging his cannon. If they kill that cannon, it will all run into the back of his flamer. He did put up a lot of shot with grape shot from the cannon, and he had a lot on the Peg Knights, but Blessing of the Lady saves me once again. The fast calves moves through his line and are behind it, and Green Knights showed up and ready to charge his cannon next turn. In the middle I prepare myself for a charge from the Bloodlord. If he charge any of my knights, I will counter charge with the lords or a lance, basically. If he charge the lord, hopefully they can manage to kill him, but they have pretty long charges for him, so hopefully he won't make that. Well, this picture showing my Peg Knight charging his mortar, and we'll make short work of that. My paladin flies up and I prepare to lay down a flame template on his bloodletters. On the other flank, the dwarf must be very confused because the Bretonnian are just backing backwards all the game, and they just feel like, oh, we have got to do something. So his great weapon warrior charges the knight, and the Ironbreaker move up to protect his organ gun from the Savage Orc boar boys. And in the top corner, my 3 Peg Knights over there charges his Death Shrieker, and will make short work of that. Well, in the medic phase, the comet goes down and hits the cannon and kills it, and also the handgunner standing next to it. And well, I think they dispel the rest of our spells. We may have got some useless spells off, but that's it. In combat on this flank, my Peg Knight kills his Death Shrieker and run off the board because he had turned his Chaos Dwarf around to face them. His warrior, of course, kill his great weapon knights and overrun, but they get stuck on that big rock in the middle. Here we of course kill his mortar, and I reform so his demon bloodletters cannot see me, and I actually stand in facing his other mortar, not the way they are standing right now. Here my Peg Knights made short work of his cannon and overrun into his flamers over there. For the Forces of Destruction, turn 2, this corn dog shows up, and this corn dog shows up. On the Forces of Destruction's right flank, they pretty much push us up again. They don't have much out on that flank that's fast moving. In the middle of the here you can see they just push us up a bit with everything. His orc over there failed the charge, his greatswords failed the charge, his blood faster here charges my errant lance, Over this flank, the counter charge comes, the Savage Orc charges the Iron Breakers, the Empire Great Weapon Knight charges the Dwarf Warrior, the Wyvern without this rider who have got a cannonball to the face last turn charges into the warriors. Two chariots charges the hammers, and the rest of their army just pushes forward against the battle line. In the magic phase, I don't have a picture of this, but this pink horse gets off a blue fire on one of my pagan knights, and only one model remaining after that, but I passed both the toughness test and the panic check. And this picture just showing my pagan knights killing his flamer. Their shooting was also totally ineffectual. I think they got a fast cav unit running off the board, but that's it. This picture shows his great weapon warrior killing every single one of those knights. In this combat, his bloodthirster kills my champion and loses, but he passes his leadership test. Well, in this combat, the Ironbreaker actually breaks the Savage Orc Boys, and the Orc player learned the hard way how fast my friends dwarf are. They can actually run down anything, even if they're fast cav or cavalry or whatever. They are dwarf and they are fast as hell. Well, in this picture, his warrior actually breaks the wyvern. They must have felt pity for the creature because they didn't run him down. Well, in this combat, the chariot slams into the hammer. He rolls high for the impact hits, and then he rolls a lot of 1s and 2s to wound. The orcs misses, the boar misses, and the hammer strikes back and makes short work of those two chariots. For the forces of order, turn 3, my small unit of realm charged into his beast of Nurgle to hold it up a bit. My peg knight charged into the back of his handgunners. My 3 remaining fast cav charge into his master engineer. He shoots down 2 of them with his sang shoot from his repeater pistol, but they passes the panic shot and get in. The green knight charge into the cannon, and I pivot him so he can overrun into that skull cannon if he kills it and overruns. In the middle, my remaining peg knight charges his mortar. Here I slam in my Grail Knight's lance and my Lord with heroic killing blow into his bloodthirster, and to make the Grail Knights capable of doing that charge, I slam the Realm Lance into a Beast of Nurgle, and you can see the conga line of my fast cav. That's just to stop his corn dog to charging my Treb. Well, his Ironbreaker charges his Kniggets, and the Empire Kniggets run for it and gets away. Otherwise, his unit just pushes forward. The Slayers turn around to face the corn dog, and the Iron Drake also reform to face them. And the Peg Knights move up to charge his Bishaka next turn, and that's it for this line. I don't have any picture of magic or shooting because nothing worth notice happened. Here we just whiffed. I think he killed 1, but that's it for this combat. In this combat, my Lord goes in, he challenges, my Lord takes it, my Lord has all strikes first, and he gets off the heroic killing blow and kills the greater demon. That was real nice. Here is my reform, and it's also showing, not thanks to killing his beast in combat because he challenges. That's just a weird rule for them to have that special rule, because it makes them so broken to just have a single, especially if they're facing Bretonnia. I don't want to lose my blessing just to refuse a challenge from a plague beast of Nurgle. But I managed to take him down on combat res. None of us did any wounds to each other in combat, so he fails the chip test and puff. My Peg Knight up here kills 9 of his handgunners. The last one runs away and runs off the board, and I just reform to face his handgunners next turn. My single peg knights kill his mortar and overrun into the next one. His warrior who have charged into his black orcs, they both kill each other hard, but the black orc passes the break test and they stick around. For the forces of destruction, turn 3, he's Great and Clean 1, and he's Soul Grinder charged into my questing knights, and a Beast of Nurgle charged into my Realm Lance with the Enchantress in it. His Corn Dog charged into my Fast Cab. This was kind of funny. His Pink Horror when I charged my Paladin Peg Hero in the flank, and I actually forgot about him and I didn't move him. So for him to do that, he needed the Night Goblin to move. The Night Goblin needed, I think, a 4 or something to charge my Realm Lands through his own Fanatics. They rolled double 1 and didn't get anywhere. His Flamers move up over there out of the arc of my Lances, but not out of the arc of my Lord. So of course both the Pink Horror and the Night Goblin fail the charge. The Bloodletter just move closer to my Paladin, and the Fanatics will go back and move through his Night Goblin again. On this flank you can see in the left corner that in the right corner that his greatsword have made it into his I think they are warriors or long bridge, or something like that. His knights rallies, his 1 year of chaos dwarf charge into his warriors, the corn dog charge into the fire drakes, and the rest just pushes forward. His Chaos Dwarf in the back reform and fire at my peg knights, and they will kill one of them, and I will pass my panic check. And well, that's it for their movement. Well, magic didn't do much. They didn't have any shooting left. He didn't kill a lot of my questing. I think he killed 5, but I was steadfast and failed my Reach of 8 test. He is Great and Clean 1 overrun into my Inland Lands, and his Soul Grinder couldn't really get anywhere. I forgot to take a picture of it earlier, but of course my Peasant Fast having Green Knights kill his Empire Cannon and Engineer, and my Green Knights overrun into his cannon over here. Green Knights take 3 wounds on him, he gets a killing blow off and kills me, which is ridiculous for a war machine to have 3 up armor, 5 up ward killing blow, and only cost like 135 points I think for it. But the whole army book of demons is ridiculous, so what can you expect? We did manage to get off the reign of bullshit from this game, because that's also something that's just ridiculous and shouldn't have been written in the first place anyway, along with the rest of their codex. But yeah, no more ranting about how overpowered demon is. Continue with the game. The corn dog kills my fast cab, and they reform like this to take a shot from my Bretlord. His big one had charged the rangers, and they will do some wounds to them, but they will stick. His great sword against his, I think they are Longbeards, they pretty much do some damage to each other. The great sword have suffered a lot of casualties. One of the warrior priest and the level 4 is dead, but they are stubborn, so they stick. I kill his mortar, and then these peg knights will go hide for the rest of the game. In this combat, the black orcs put out a lot of damage to his warrior, but the warrior put a lot of damage back. The other dwarf warrior actually round down these chaos warriors, not chaos warrior, chaos dwarf warriors who charged them. The corn dog and the fire shooting dwarfs, iron drakes, stand around and fight, and that's it for this flank. In this combat, both do a lot of damage to each other, but they all stick around. Well, my Peg Knights for the good guys turn 4 charge his handgunner and they will pretty much kill them, and they will basically stay out of harm's way for the rest of the game. Here you can see that my lord charges his corn dog, his gyrocopter charges the rear of his orcs. My whole lances will just back off, and my Red Lord with Heroic and Glow will charge into his flamers. On this flank, his Gyrocopter charges the flank of the Black Orc, his Warrior pushes forward, his Slayer charges the back of the Corn Dog, and his Hammer, I think they fail a charge on his Chaos Warriors, and the Iron Breakers failed a charge on his Knights, and my Peg Knight charged a Spear Shaka and just killed that one. Well, on this picture is just showing that I take my Realm Lance to stop his Soul Grinder from doing much. I also pop up the Enchantress out of that unit to make a getaway, and hope the Realm Lance could be steadfast for at least 1 or 2 turns to keep the Soul Grinder busy. And here's the big picture. Also you can see how cool conversion he have done with this Soul Grinder. Is a combination of a, I don't know what the 40k monster is some kind of 40k monster that you build it from, and then a medical tube or some sort. But yeah, it's a nice conversion anyway. In the magic phase, I chain lightning the skull cannon off the board. Well, a trip. I love those guys. They hit in the center of this big guy and it kills it. A other treb turned this unit combat ineffective, and I think the third one actually scatters off a bit. In this combat I feed him my champion. In this combat we do a wound to each other, but we both basically just stick around. Well, in the combat with the big ones, the Rangers actually break and run off the board, but the Gyrocopter actually stick, thankfully. And the Longbridge and the Greatsword just do some damage to each other. Some Warrior Priest may die, some Greatsword may die, but they are stubborn, so they stick. In the combat with the Corn Dog and the Bretonnia Lord, we do 1 wound to each other. I have a charge, but he rolls. He stands on his leadership test. Well, the Slayer and the Iron Drakes manage to kill his Corn Dog before he gets any chances to roll that double 1 and revive his whole unit. Over to the bad guys turn 4. His Knights charge the Ironbreaker. His Chaos Dwarf turn to face his Warriors. His other Chaos Dwarf unit turn to face his Hammer. And that's basically all they got left on this flank. On this flank, his Night Goblin charged the flank of my Lord, and his Horror and Bloodletters move up. His Bloodletters in the middle just turn around to face my Realm Lands, and a Beast charges the flank of my Realm Lands over here. Well, I love Night Goblin, and especially the Fanatics, because the Fanatics goes through this whole combat. It kills 2 Night Goblin, takes a wound on my Lord, and kills the Flamers. And this was hysterically funny. He threw a vortex through my Errant Lands, and I used the Frog Skull. And you should have seen how his look on his face. It was very funny. When he realized he had to turn his Great Unclean One into a frog. He rolled the dice and he rolled a 4. You can see this in the picture over here. And I thought, oh shit, it didn't work. But then I asked him, what level is your Great Unclean One? Oh, it's a level 3. Well, that's nice. Now he's turned into a frog with a stat line of 1 in everything except for wounds. That was really hilarious and really good for our side. Well, they didn't have any shooting left, and my Bretonnia Lord, Greater Demon, no problem, Night Goblin, that's too dangerous, I need to get out of here. And he runs away, he runs even double 6, and the Night Goblin run 10, so they end up, as you can see them in this picture. His Beast of Nurgle will kill 2 of my knights, and I fail my steadfast check, and he runs me down, as you can see in this picture. Well, in this combat, I do 2 wounds to the Great Gungreen one, but then it tells me, oh, I have my demonic ward save, so we passed both those wounds. But then after that, I told him, but you also have a leadership of 1, try to make that. And he rolls it and he fails it, and I kill the toad. So all of his great monster demon is gone. Here I think I take another wound and I do kill a dog, I think. So we both stick around here. This picture shows his Kniggets standing and grinding with his iron breakers, his great sword, even though there are very few of them left, stand and grind with his long beard, and that's what happened on this flank. Well, this is the last picture I have of the game, because in our turn 5 we did some charges, we didn't shoot, we didn't do magic, we did some combat we thought would be interesting. For example, this lord find his corn dog, and I kill 1, he kill 0, and he rolled double 6. And I have whined about how much I hate the demon and how overpowered they are, but I will say this: if they roll a double 6 on leadership, that's a really good rule. They just puff. I think that's something they got right on that book. And they also fight some dwarf, which is Chaos Dwarf elite unit hammers, and hammer just smack some Chaos Dwarf silly, killing them all outright, I think. Well, that's the game. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm really thankful to my co-player and my opponents, because they had a lot of the army painted, and painted to high quality, a lot of it too, I think, and that's really good to do in Belleport with. Some of it are plastic, but what you're gonna do if you bring out this much model, some of it can't be all painted everywhere. If you have any question, please post them below. If you are a demon player, please defend your army, tell me why they aren't overpowered. And if you like, feel free to like the video and subscribe. That's it. Have a nice one.